My fellow Americans, in this time of increasing uncertainty, divisive rhetoric, and the decline in our overall willingness to see eye to eye on pretty much any issue, be it religion, politics, boxers versus briefs, or whether pineapple really belongs on a pizza, I believe the time is right to declare a ceasefire for the next 15 minutes of our lives, to come together and agree on one thing. It's summer, and it's flippin' hot out, and we could all go for something refreshing. So put down the protest signs, stick the tiki torches in the lawn where they belong, and join me in raising a glass of whatever the hell this is, as we begin today's episode of Recipe Redemption. Even if all we can agree on is that this stuff is disgusting, at least that's a start. And who knows? World peace might begin with a group of people experiencing the gag reflex simultaneously. If I'm the catalyst for world change, who am I to turn down the Nobel Peace Prize? So, come on, let's go make something repulsive together, shall we? So in researching vintage recipes for this series, I've run across an interesting phenomenon, that of the use of gelatin to not necessarily elevate a dish, but to change it into something else. In particular, the rise of what became known as the molded salad. You would take a flavored gelatin, or unflavored, but you take some sort of gelatin, suspend vegetables and sometimes meat in it. Salad. I don't get it. It's not my thing. There have been a couple I've been served. Some older relations have brought molded salads to family functions, and they're not bad. I'm not really lining up to eat them, but some of them have been okay. Some of them have been atrocious. In particular, in my researches, the use of tomato products with gelatin have been particularly heinous. I've got a couple of examples here that I'm working with today that they call a barbecue salad. And it's essentially tomato sauce, gelatin, salt, a little bit of vinegar, and maybe some other seasonings or spices. But that's basically it. And they said, ta-da, salad! It's not a salad. It's not barbecue. It's not even barbecue flavor. It's just vaguely tomato. And particularly, they're calling for lemon or orange Jell-O mixed with tomato sauce. So yeah, I can already tell you, even if it tastes okay, it's not going to taste like barbecue. So that's really, really misleading. Also, because I started off the video talking about refreshment, there is in particular a recipe for jellied tomato refresher. And that is a little bit more involved, and we'll get into that in a moment. And that's the one that I really want to redeem today. So let's get started. Today I'm going to start with the barbecue salad. First, I want to get these out of the way, and then hopefully never do a plain tomato and gelatin dish ever again. Let's just put this to bed. So I'm going to do the barbecue salad first. Now, it calls for a package of lemon or orange Jell-O. It doesn't say whether it's sweetened or not. My only clue is it does mention a 3-ounce package. And that's a little bit heavier. Now, the 3-ounce I have right here. The 3-ounce package is sweetened, okay? So this actually does contain sugar. The unsweetened version here, it only weighs 1/3 of an ounce of this package. It's basically just whatever lemon flavoring. Is it even natural? I don't even know. And obviously the gelatin in there. So I assume that they mean sweetened, but just for scientific accuracy, I'm going to make a batch with the unsweetened Jell-O as well. Now, one thing I want to note that I didn't mention in the first video, well, I sort of did. I'm going to do everything I can to make smaller batches of these, because if I make a full family size version of it, and it turns out to be horrible, then I've wasted a lot of food. So whenever possible in the series, I'm going to try and scale it down to, if I can, a single serving. So I'm the only one who has to suffer. So let's get started. Begin by dissolving one 3-ounce package of Jell-O gelatin, either lemon or orange flavor, into 3/4 of a cup of boiling water. I just microwaved this. Then add 1 8-ounce can of tomato sauce and 1 tablespoon of vinegar, half a teaspoon of salt and a dash of pepper, and stir to combine. Once the gelatin is fully dissolved, pour this mixture into the mold of your choice. The original recipe calls for a ring mold. I'm just using these silicone cupcake molds. Here's the sweetened version and the unsweetened version. Yeah, I changed. I'm not really a shirt and tie kind of guy. So, after about 4 hours in the refrigerator, 2 gelatinous shapes, both alike in ignominy. One of them didn't quite depan correctly. It's one of the issues you have with gelatin-based dishes is sometimes they just don't want to come out of the pan. The trick is you're supposed to basically immerse the bottom of the pan in warm water that will melt a layer of gelatin around the edge of the pan and allow the mold to unmold. Unfortunately, when you're using silicone molds, they don't transfer heat very well. So you have to be a little bit more patient with them and maybe not use silicone. So anyway, I'm going to try the unsweetened version first. I want to see if it actually benefits from having all the sugar in it. So here goes. Barbecue salad. It's not horrible. It's definitely not barbecue in flavor. The texture, it's still enough like I'm eating out of a can of tomato sauce. The texture isn't entirely pleasant. It's not quite Jell-O-like. Jell-O usually has that smooth, firm, and yet jiggly texture to it. The tomato sauce kind of gets in the way of that, makes it both squishier and sort of, I don't know, I don't even have the words for it. It's not my favorite thing. It's not horrible. If I was starving and this is what there was, then I would eat this, but so let's see what the sweetened version is like. It's noticeably sweeter. So in both, the actual predominant flavor is the lemon. It is definitely sweeter. I don't know that that necessarily makes it any better, but you can sort of ignore the tomato a little bit more. No, I take it back. Because you've added more sugar, now it tastes more like ketchup with lemon in it. Yeah. My recommendation is just don't do this. Okay. So one of the barbecue salads, it actually recommends that you serve this along with cottage cheese. I didn't do that because I really wanted to taste what this combination would be like. I don't know that the cottage cheese would really help much. Maybe a little bit in texture because it's got the chunks. But it's not very flavorful on its own, so it is basically like you'd be pouring ketchup on cottage cheese. If that's your thing, okay, but I honestly can't recommend it.
So let's start over with some jellied tomato refresher. Sprinkle a package of gelatin into some cold water. Next, in a small saucepan, combine 3 cups of tomato juice with 2 tablespoons of dehydrated green pepper flakes, artificial sweetener to equal 2 teaspoons of sugar, or I just use 2 teaspoons of sugar, 2 teaspoons of lemon juice, a packet of instant beef broth or 1 beef bouillon cube, 1 teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce, a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic salt, and a 1/2 teaspoon of ground clove. Put on heat and stir to combine until it just starts to boil. Once the tomato mixture is hot, remove from the heat and add the gelatin. Stir to combine until the gelatin is completely dissolved. Refrigerate for 4 hours, and just before service, mash with a fork. Garnish with green pepper rings if desired.
Okay, it's blazing hot in here. I'm ready to be refreshed with my jellied tomato refresher. Yeah. I'm really not looking forward to this. They always show this served in a glass, but really it needs a bowl with a spoon because you're not tipping this back and drinking it. It's surprisingly bland, with the Worcestershire sauce and the beef bouillon and the additional salt that you threw in here. I thought this was going to be super salty, but it's actually not that salty. But on the other hand, it's not much of anything else. It's not really refreshing. In fact, I would go so far as to say that the barbecue salads were actually more refreshing because of that sweet citrus flavor that predominates those. This is kind of, it's just sort of vaguely tomatoey and not an entirely pleasant, again, not an entirely pleasant texture. So I think we can put this one to bed and just say, let's not do this anymore, America. Let's not put tomato in any sort of aspic and any sort of gelatin. It's not a salad. It's certainly not a dessert. It's not a beverage. It's not a refresher. Let's not do this anymore. Unless, hold on a sec. Figured it out yet? If you look at the ingredients for the jellied tomato refresher and you think, okay, tomato juice, lemon juice, beef bouillon, Worcestershire sauce, garlic powder. If you add a little bit of celery salt to that and replace some of the salt with celery salt and replace some of the water that you bloomed the gelatin with vodka, you got yourself a Bloody Mary. Jell-O shot. I forgot to mention the Tabasco. A lot of Tabasco. Not bad. It's better. It's more portable. Ooh, there's a vodka. Still not my favorite thing. I would prefer to have, if I'm going to have a Bloody Mary, I'm going to have a Bloody Mary. But it does put me in mind that if you don't like Bloody Marys, this could actually be something you could do with other cocktails. I think a mojito Jell-O shot would be pretty good, or caipirinha if you prefer. Just make sure that you make a sugar syrup rather than just stirring the sugar in there. You want to make sure the sugar is completely dissolved, or otherwise it's going to be gritty. Other cocktails, particularly ones that are already kind of thick, blended drinks, margaritas, Mai Tais. You could actually introduce a little bit of bloomed gelatin in there. You will have to heat them a little bit in order to get the gelatin to dissolve. Mix it in and then refrigerate. Put it into molds and refrigerate. But you can do Jell-O shots with those as well. All in all, though, I think we can all agree that tomato and gelatin, that's a relic of a bygone age, and we can leave that one behind. So, okay, we didn't exactly redeem Jellied tomato refresher or barbecue salad. We did confirm they are very definitely old school recipes, and when you step back for a minute and think about it, recipes that involve tomato aspic have been made for decades. They're not as popular as they once were, but they still show up from time to time. Someone at least still enjoys making them. I have no way of knowing if anyone actually enjoys eating them, but someone enjoys making them. So maybe tomato aspics are kind of like a culinary version of Godzilla. Stick with me here. You go to a Godzilla movie, one of the newer ones, especially American made, and they throw tens of millions of dollars of special effects at it, and they hire Oscar-nominated actors to play the parts. But at the end of the day, it's still a Godzilla movie. And if you're expecting high drama, pathos, probably going to be disappointed. If you go into it expecting a giant lizard that shoots flames out of its mouth, destroying Tokyo, you're going to be pretty happy because that's exactly what you expect and that's exactly what you get. Same thing with tomato aspics. If you like that sort of thing, great. If you don't, no amount of gussying it up is probably going to make you like it. The Jell-O shot, the Bloody Mary Jell-O shot that I made, arguably better than the Jellied tomato refresher. Definitely can be argued that it wasn't good. The original is still better. So in this humble cook's opinion, my personal tastes, gelatin doesn't really do anything to improve on flavor, texture, aroma, presentation of tomato. I think it stands just fine on its own. If you like it, you like it. And like the Mythbusters say, failure isn't always an option. So I did not redeem these dishes to the rest of us who do not like tomato aspics. I can try again later, and please, I do invite you to give suggestions in the comments below this video on what I should have done. I'll give them a try in a future video. But for the moment, I'm willing to say, let's just leave tomato aspic in the past. It's a relic, and if you like it, great, but I think increasingly increasingly these days, you're going to have a much more difficult time finding anyone to eat it. So with that, I'd like to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and please do send me all your horrible recipes. I'm constantly collecting them and selecting those choice few for future redemptions. So until next time, I'm Mike Uyak. Thanks for watching. Jell-O again, Jell-O. I always eat Jell-O. I love that jiggly thing you do, and you make lunch great. I can hardly wait. Jell-O.